A New York City point guard will give up his girl and his chain before he give up his dribble.
We've revolutionized this game with our influence.
New York City playground basketball blew up on a global scale.
What we were seeing was cultural resilience.
It's New York City at its finest.
A self-made American superstar.
Better believe.
Jake Paul.
Now we winning.
Takes on the son of a heavyweight champion.
Hey.
Hasim Rahman Jr.
Wait a minute.
Paul risks it all against his most dangerous opponent yet. And Puerto Rican superstar Amanda Serrano makes her return to the Garden.
Now we winning.
Paul versus Rahman. Live on pay-per-view Saturday, August 6th.
It's The Last Stand. And here is your host, Brian Custer.
That's right. It is The Last Stand. We bring you some of the biggest names in the sport. And joining me today is one of those rising stars in the middleweight division. This young man is unbeaten. But here's the thing. He is the relative of a legend. Let's say the GOAT. Because his moniker is The Legend Lives On. He is Nico Ali Walsh. Nico, welcome to The Last Stand.
Thank you for having me, Brian. It's so nice to meet you.
You did. Nice to meet you as well. So listen here, August 20th, in San Diego, national television, ESPN, you're back in the ring, Reyes Sanchez. Now, you two fought, I want to say it was last December. You got the majority decision in that fight. It was somewhat close. Tell us why you think the outcome's going to be different this time around.
Well, I've learned so much since December. I mean, if you could see through my fight in January ended in the second round, and then my fight in, I believe it was April, ended in the first round. So I've gotten so much better since then. This is the only opponent that I haven't stopped. This is the only opponent that I've gone the distance with, and this guy gave me my toughest fight, so it's time to right that wrong.
No, listen, let's not bury the lead. I mean, you're obviously the grandson of the GOAT, Muhammad Ali. What has it been like now that you're in the sport and knowing that, you know, your grandfather was the greatest of all time?
It's amazing. You know, they coined this name for me, The Legend Lives On. I did not come up with that, but it's very heartwarming, you know, for me and my family. We love that, you know. And I love boxing, so if I can continue something great like the legacy of my grandfathers and create my own in the process, that's a huge honor.
Where do you think you are right now in your development, Nico?
You know, I'm in the early stages. My career has been fast-tracked. You know, if you look at, like, any normal boxer, like if you look at, like, Floyd Mayweather or Canelo or, you know, Pacquiao, their first 10 fights weren't, you know, televised fights. Their first 10 fights, they're building their careers, you know, they're learning. But because of the position I'm in with my grandfather, it's a double-edged sword. I'm fighting on ESPN for my first fight, for my first fights, you know, and then I'm fighting people who are not, you know, pushovers. So I'm learning on the job, but I've been doing well so far.
You know, when you started, you know, Abel Sanchez was like in your corner. Then it was Sugar Hill, Stewart, K. Karoma. So tell me, even though you're early in your development, why so many trainers here early on?
I have no idea. You know, I'm the guy that listens to the boss. I listen to whoever's in charge. So whoever my trainer is, they tell me to jump. I ask them how high. That's the way that I work. And yeah, no, I love these guys. Everyone that I've been with so far has helped me get to the point that I'm at right now.
All right, so I got to know. Tell me, how old were you when you first got introduced to the sport of boxing?
I was, you know, putting gloves on with my grandfather when I was like 3, but that doesn't count. I was like, my first time in a ring in front of a crowd where I had to fight somebody, I was like 10. It was an exhibition for childhood cancer. It was like a fundraiser. So that was my first time ever being introduced to boxing.
And what did he tell you at the time when you were doing it? And you're just like, hey, I'm liking this. What did Muhammad Ali tell you at the time about the sport?
Well, when I was 10, I didn't take it seriously. I was having fun with it. I didn't even know it was a possibility that that's a road I could go down. But when I was 14, that's when I started taking it seriously. And that's when my grandfather started talking to me about stuff. And he would just tell me that it's a long road. He would just tell me about, the discipline that it takes in boxing, which I believe now at this point, discipline is hereditary. If you look at the greats, the people that are raised by them, they have the same sort of discipline. You could see it.
At what age did you realize, though, you really came to grips with, I'm related to probably the most recognizable man on this planet?
I think I didn't know he was the most recognizable man on the planet until I was 16, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, I was old. Yeah, I was 16. And unfortunately, I had to find that out when he had passed away. The love that the world showed when he passed away made me kind of understand that. And it was such a weird process because me and my family were grieving, and it was like everyone else was grieving. Everyone else in the world was grieving. So it was just weird, but that kind of helped me understand it more.
Wow. And so let's say when you're 14, for you, it was just what, grandpa? I mean, you just knew that, this guy used to box?
Yeah, no, we called him Poppy, and that's what it was. It was just my grandfather. We would hang out with him all the time. I'd do magic tricks for him. We'd watch horror movies with him. We'd, just make jokes. That's what it was.
That's unbelievable. So now listen, your aunt Layla is obviously the only other Ali who has not only navigated through this sport but done it successfully. Now a Hall of Famer. What advice did she give you? Then once you took it seriously and you're like, I'm going to be professional and I'm going forward with this. What advice did she give you?
Well, she was at my amateur fights way back in the day, so she understood back then the pressures of it, and she's the only person that could really understand what I'm going through because she's the only other boxer in the family aside from myself. She's the only, aside from her and my grandfather, we're the three that have boxed in the family. So she would just tell me that I get the best version of whoever I fight. So if I'm fighting someone who's not so good, I will fight the best version of that guy who's not so good. And that's how it's been even in the amateur days. That's how it's been.
Yeah. So give us some insight then, Nico, on what's it like when you are a professional fighter and Muhammad Ali is your grandfather?
Honestly, it's so hard to tell. I feel like any other fighter, I understand like the pressure and stuff, but to me, he's just my grandfather. I don't see him as like the way everyone else sees him. He's my idol, but if he wasn't a boxer, if no one knew him, he'd still be my idol. He's my grandfather. So I don't know. I feel normal.
Yeah. You look. Even I got the uniform on. I mean, that's how we feel about it.
I already know where that shirt's from. I thought you were trying to hide that from me. That shirt is amazing.
and going deeper into that, because he was your grandfather, and you're a professional and you're in the sport, what comes with that? I mean, do people want to just touch you? Do they just want to talk to you? Do they give me story? What is that like?
Yeah, definitely. People have such a love. They have such a respect for my grandfather that it's like that. They carry that on to me, which is great. But that wouldn't be the case if I was some, jerk. I believe I was raised right by my parents, and obviously I looked at my grandfather, the most recognizable man on the planet, the most loved man on the planet at one point, and he treated everyone the same. he treated, the waitresses the same as he would treat, the princes that he would meet. So if someone of his, stature could do that, then I always have to do that. And that's the way I carry myself. And I believe that's why people, they translate that love and respect for my grandfather onto me.
Absolutely. What was mom like when you had that discussion with mom and was like, yeah, mom, I'm going forward with this. I want to do it. What was her reaction?
She was very supportive, but obviously she doesn't want to see, she just got finished, seeing her dad get, hit in boxing, and she doesn't want to see her son get hit, but, she never tried to stop me from doing it. She was very, very supportive.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. So, your grandfather was promoted by Bob Arum and Top Rank.
Yes.
I mean, he promoted like 27 of his fights. Was that intentional when you signed with Top Rank?
Absolutely. I just every day I'm so blessed to be where I'm at right now in my career, and it wouldn't be this way without Bob Arum. I wouldn't want it any other way. I love boxing. I love, all promotions in boxing. I respect all of them, but I'm a guy that loves to follow the path of the greats. I love a tradition, and we're definitely keeping that tradition now that I'm with Top Rank.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Brian Custer. I want to talk to you about our partner, Athletic Greens. I started taking Athletic Greens because, quite simply, I wanted more energy, more focus, doing this podcast, doing SportsCenter, hosting Showtime Championship Boxing, and, of course, for my workouts. And I got to tell you, I simply love it. Athletic Greens doesn't taste like one of those super healthy drinks. It has a mild tropical taste I'm sure that you're going to enjoy each morning. So what is it? Well, with one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, what you're getting is you're absorbing 75 high-quality minerals, vitamins, whole-sourced superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens to really help start your day right. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar. There are no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while it still tastes good. And it supports better sleep quality, it's going to give you better recovery, and it's also going to support your mental clarity while also alertness. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. In essence, it's one thing you can do every single day to take care of yourself. And it's lifestyle friendly. So whether you're keto, whether you're paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or even gluten-free, and it costs you less than $3 a day. So really, you're investing in your health, especially if you have one of those habits where you got to buy a brew every day. And additionally, for every purchase, they donate to organizations helping to get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the U.S. In fact, in 2020, Athletic Greens donated over $1.2 million in meals to kids. Right now, I'm telling you, it is the perfect time to reclaim your health, your immune system with a really convenient daily nutrition. And it is something that I'm telling you that is going to supplement you and look out for your health. So you know what? We're going to make it easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 of these travel packs with your first purchase. And all you've got to do is visit athleticgreens.com/laststand. Again, it's athleticgreens.com/laststand. It is time to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance, Athletic Greens. Your grandfather was a master at using the media, whether it was hyping fights, talking, dealing with the media. What about you? Do you enjoy the media attention?
I'm actually more of a recluse, believe it or not. Like I don't like the media. I don't like the limelight. But it's here, and I understand why it's here. So I use it for what I'm supposed to use it for. And I nobody's like my grandfather, and nobody will be like my grandfather. He had a personality. I'd like to think that I have part of his personality, but I'm definitely not. I don't love fame and attention like that.
So you're telling me after this fight, and I'm assuming you're going to be victorious on August 20th, you're not going to be at when they interview you in the ring saying, "I am the greatest. I am the greatest of all time."
No. I could never. You know, for my fourth fight, I did my grandfather's shuffle before I knocked out my opponent, and that was so out of my head. Like I had not planned that at all. That came out of nowhere. So I try to not replicate my grandfather, because I want to be my own person, but sometimes stuff like that just pops out, and I can't help it. That's what I grew up watching.
Yeah, I think it was a shot of you hitting the bag, and that went viral because it looked just like your grandfather.
Weird stuff like that happens. I never do anything intentionally, but it's going to be impossible to not find similarities between a grandson and his grandfather. It's it happens.
I'm just curious. We use the term GOAT all the time, and your grandfather was one of the first to say, "I'm the greatest of all time." Did he ever, when you were talking to him, did he ever call himself the GOAT?
He never said the GOAT, but he would say all the time that his line was, "I'm the greatest of all time, and I'm knocking out all bums." He would say that. He would say that to us. But GOAT, I feel like the term GOAT is more modern, but he knew who he was. He knew he was the greatest of all time in his 70s. He knew it.
That's fantastic. So, Nico, you're fighting in the middleweight division. Nico, and I know we're young in the infancy stages of your career, but what is your ultimate goal in the sport of boxing?
My ultimate goal is to make it to the top. I want to be one of the greats. I want to be, I want to take it as far as I possibly can. And that's my dream. I feel like I've been doing great so far. The sky's the limit when with someone like myself, where I love the sport of boxing and I will do anything it takes to reach my goals. I feel like the sky's the limit.
That's fantastic. Nico, for everybody who comes on the show, we allow people to submit questions through social media. We got a number of them for you, so we'll just get right to them. They come from Twitter. First one comes from Lord on Twitter. He says, "Do you feel any pressure to live up to your grandfather's legacy?"
In a way, yes. But if my grandfather wasn't, if my grandfather was Joe Schmo, I would feel the pressure to live up to, someone's expectations. So I definitely feel the pressure, but it's more of a family pressure. It's not because of, the public.
Got it. Brother Mazone on Twitter asks, your thoughts on your aunt getting inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame, and did you attend?
I wish I could have attended. I was training, but I texted her, and I'm so happy for her. That is awesome. She was, she transcended women's boxing, and she's one of the first, to put it on the map. So I'm glad that she's finally getting inducted like that. It's awesome.
Last one here from Twitter asks, what was Ali like outside of the ring?
I feel like he was the same. He really didn't, hold back. What you see is what you got, and that goofy kind of guy, that's how he was with us at his house, at Thanksgiving, at his birthdays, he's just funny, he never faked for anybody. So even when he was older, he was always taking every single picture, every single autograph, just awesome.
That's fantastic. Okay, Nico, we've come to the last segment of the show. We call it The Last Stand. I'm going to ask you just a series of questions. Nico, you give me the first thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
Okay, I like it. I'm ready.
Here we go. Listen, your grandfather was one of the first socially active athletes who really used his platform for social change. Will you be just as socially active, you think?
Absolutely. That's how I was raised. The quote that I always think of is, if you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And my grandfather stood for something, and that's how I was raised. So absolutely.
Second one, Floyd Mayweather says he's the greatest boxer of all time because, in his words, Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson had losses. How could they be the greatest? He says, I retired 50-0. Is he correct?
I don't think he's correct, but he's definitely the greatest defensive boxer of all time. And, his mindset, especially since he's still, active, sort of, his mindset is that he's the best and he's got to be the best. When Floyd is 50 years old, he might not be saying those things. We'll have to see. I feel like Floyd will end up becoming like Mike Tyson, where, he starts mellowing out and becoming, that wholesome, wise old man.
Absolutely. And Mike reveres Muhammad Ali, so you're right about that.
I absolutely love Mike. Yep.
Greatest item, something that you cherish the most that your grandfather gave you before he passed away.
Oh, crap. I had these prayer beads that I would wear all the time. And then before he had passed away, I took them off and I said, I'm never wearing them again. So he didn't give them to me, but we held them together. So it makes me think of them.
Wow. I'm just curious, did he ever give you any of old shorts or anything like that you have that maybe one day you'll rock into the ring?
He didn't. I wore his shorts for my first fight. He didn't give me those. I got those after he had passed away. But I mean, anything boxing related, he hasn't given. I've got his shoes.
Wow.
And I've got Halloween masks and stuff, but nothing boxing related, stuff that's important to me.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, listen, you fighting in the middleweight division. Give me the one fighter in that division that you can't wait to get in the ring when you think about 160.
It's tough because when I think about 160, I think about, even though Canelo's moving up and down, I think of Canelo immediately. But then I also think of David Benavidez. It's tough. If I want to be the great boxer that I want to be, I'd have to fight one of those guys at some point.
Yeah.
And they're massive talents. They're my favorite fighters in boxing today. So those guys.
All right. Last but not least here, Nico. If your grandfather always talked about he float like a butterfly and stings like a bee, what is Nico Ali saying?
Ooh, I have no clue. It's funny because I don't think my grandfather came up with that. I think it was Boudini Brown, but
yes.
I could be wrong.
Yes, you're right.
I think So these quotes and these sayings, even like the legend lives on, I didn't come up with that. The people come up with that. So I'm sure there will be something that I could do.
I love it. I love it.
People will come up with it around me.
I love it. That is fantastic. By the way, here's a crazy thing. What about your dad? Obviously your dad, it's almost like he's the odd man out because everyone's always talking about your mom and your grandfather.
I know. He hates cameras. He hates the spotlight. And he hates attention. He's the total opposite of my mom. So we're my dad's there, but he doesn't want to, be in the camera.
It's hilarious. Nico Ali Walsh, he's unbeaten. He'll be back in the ring, though, August 20th. You can catch his fight on ESPN. Hey, listen, young man, rumble. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much. And I love that shirt. And thank you for your support.
Absolutely. That's what we do here on The Last Stand. We bring you some of the biggest names in the sport, like Nico Ali Walsh. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next week.
A New York City point guard will give up his girl and his chain before he give up his dribble.
We revolutionized this game with our influence.
New York City playground basketball blew up on a global scale.
What we were seeing was cultural resilience.
It's New York City at its finest.
A self-made American superstar,
Better believe.
Jake Paul,
Now we winning. Now we winning.
takes on the son of a heavyweight champion, Hasim Rahman Jr.
Wait a minute.
Paul risks it all against his most dangerous opponent yet. And Puerto Rican superstar Amanda Serrano makes her return to the Garden.
Now we winning. Now we winning.
Paul versus Rahman, live on pay-per-view Saturday, August 6th.